YouTube. It's multiplier here. Startled robot. Today I'm going to show you how to make this startled robot sound in Serum. Now this particular preset is included in the music production bundle, so do check that out, link below, etc. if you like the sound of this or other such related things. Either way, let's dive into this thing and see how it's constructed, and I will point out a few of the relevant details. As is typical with how I deconstruct my own presets I've made, first of all I'm going to show you the effects and then not the effects, because the effects, to be honest, in this preset don't do much to the sound. They're just very normal. Got some reverb, phaser, flanger, dimension expander. In fact, I'll show you before and after. As you can hear, the spirit, the heart, the soul of the preset doesn't happen from the effects, but the effects give it that more complete sound with the dimension expander, reverb with a small room size, etc. Anyway, what makes this interesting? Two things. Wavetable position modulation with these interesting wavetables, which I'm sure you'll recognize if you spent a bit of time playing around with Serum. They're very distinctive. And also what's going on with this filter. As is normal with pretty much every sound, most sounds, I have assigned a modulation source, in this case an LFO, to wavetable position and filter cutoff. LFO1 modulating wavetable position on both wavetables and also filter cutoff. But check this out for an interesting detail. Oscillator A has a unison number 1, so it's in the center. Oh, back. I'll turn the filter off. Let me turn off all these effects. You can see oscillator A is in the center, unison number 1. Whereas oscillator B has a unison number 2, and therefore it's on the sides of the stereo image. So there's a detuned voice on the left side compared to the right, and then because it's detuned with this detune control, it sounds wide. It's like a robot going, I'm startled, I'm a robot. That's the startled robot. So that's cool. And see how it's coming together? The next interesting thing is this filter. Combs. Pretty mad, isn't it? Now, as is typical with pretty much every filter, you get it interesting by modulating cutoff, like most filters, but because this is a Combs filter, this mad looking filter, in fact, I'll just... this cray looking thing, which is in the miscellaneous section. So it's not just a simple low pass filter like you might normally do. Like that. Boring. Oh, no, just not relevant for this one. Combs. Because of all that craziness, when you modulate it, it gives it that distinctive Combs filter sound, which when combined with the oscillators, gives it that robot vibe. So, startled robot vibe. And I've also done LFO1 modulating the mix, so it sort of comes in over time. Remember, imagine what LFO1's doing here, comes in and then fades away. Other details to come on that. So LFO1 comes in and fades away, so it's almost like applying more or less of that filter. Pretty cool. Now, you may have noticed the resonance looks like it's low, but it's actually high. So zoom in with editing, you can see that tiny blue dot means that resonance is actually at 100%. So the filter's doing its meganess. Better word, the filter's character, if you like, is turned up to the max. I assigned a macro to resonance so I could ease off on the bitiness, as I called it. So you don't hear anywhere near as much of that character. byte actually makes more sense when you change some of the words today. This byte is actually more useful as a macro when you change some of the other parameters. But anyway, that's what the byte, that's what the resonance is set to. If you want the maximum robotiness, you want that to 100%, and that's effectively what this byte does. More details. Now, LFO1 is in envelope mode, so it simply goes through once. See, whereas if it was in, say, trigger mode, oh no, it keeps getting startled. Don't want that. So we just want to always be wary of startling robots too much. They explode. So envelope mode for that. Notice I used LFO1 in envelope mode and not an envelope, so I can do a more interesting shape. Remember, you can't do curves and a whole bunch of, like, you can't say insert nodes and get as creative with just an envelope. Other interesting detail I can point out is this centralized macro. So this centralize, strangely, is making something more central, even though it's quite a hard one to, it's almost like I've done this a weird way around. So instead of having the left-hand side center or central, and then as I increase the macro, it gets wider, I've done it the other way around. So by default, the pan control on the filter is at an offset position. But with this macro set to 100%, that effectively sets the pan at neutral. So it's not offset, and therefore you get a central sound. But if I was to say, I don't know, move the centralize, so I'll do. Hear that width. Oh, I love that. What that's done is, if you imagine what this macro is doing with that modulation amount, that's provided a bit of offset, or a bit of pan, a bit of stereo filter offset on the filter, creating some width. If you haven't seen the pan control on the filter before, it's stereo filter offset. In other words, it splits the signal into two, the left channel, the right channel, and then it applies a different cutoff value to the left side, to the right, therefore creating natural width. Oh, so it's beautiful and wide. So that's pretty fun. And also what I did, macros, etc., is assign the rate of this LFO, in other words, the speed, the amount of time it takes to go through this envelope. Remember, it's now effectively an envelope. I assigned that to a macro. You can mess about with it. Lots of fun indeed. And that's when the byte starts to make more sense. You can even go like sub frequencies and sub frequencies or sub incorrect term. Use the right words multiplier. Sub mouse, sub pitches. The frequencies end up being audible, at least the ones that are audible, but you can play below. I should explain myself more. You can play pitches below the audible listening range. So you can play a pitch, say, at 10 hertz, which you can't hear a 10 hertz tone, but you could play a wavetable at 10 hertz, and that makes interesting things happen. Because it plays through the wavetable. I'll do that in another video. Yeah. It's a 5 to 10 minute explanation to properly explain. So, many funds. My name has been Multiplier, and I will catch you guys on the new tripod. Itty flip. Looks a bit like a robot. I am a robot with a robot arm.